We're all about the Archers. I'm Philippa, and I'm with Lauren and Quentin today because we are so excited to interview the man, the wonderful Barry Farrimond, who plays Ed Grundy, who we're allowed to call Baz. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's really good to be here.
Now, Baz, in real life, if you were confronted with one, would you know one end of a Texel sheet from another?
I would. Yeah, I would. I would, yeah, because I'm doing my research.
Oh, well done.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't know any other sheep, just Texels. But yeah, I would.
So do you pick them out in fields when you drive around the countryside? Oh, that's a Texel.
Not many fields in Bristol. But yeah, when I'm out on the trail, sometimes I'm a keen rambler. I like going out walking. So yeah, I'm yet to spot one out in the wild. But yeah, I probably would recognise one.
Yeah, if you head down to Ambridge, you'll find one or two. Yeah.
So, hi Baz, I'm Lauren. I've got a bit of a cold, so I might sound a bit croaky, but I'm fine. We interviewed Emerald, who played Emma, almost exactly a year ago today, and it was before all of the sort of George Hoopla had taken place. But if I can just dwell a little bit on George, because I'm sure we'll be going much deeper. But Emerald, I asked Emerald what she thought as Emerald about George, and she came back and said that she thought he was a complete psychopath and a misogynist. And I was wondering what Baz thinks about George.
Oh, what does Baz think about George? Oh, it's tricky. It's tricky because he's had a rough old ride of it, hasn't he? And you know, I think he's confused. I think he's conflicted. I think there's some good in him. I think he does try and make the right decisions, but sometimes he doesn't. He's not completely successful.
Very generous.
That's what we found out. I mean,
You're not his father.
I know. But yeah, I mean, I've got compassion for him, but yeah, I mean, he does make some bad decisions. He really does.
So you haven't been quite as strong in saying you think he's a complete psychopath and a misogynist.
I don't think he's a complete psychopath. No, not a complete psychopath, but no, it's difficult because I've got two boys of my own, and I mean, they don't. I'm not comparing them. I'm not comparing them. But you know, as part of the whole process, you kind of go through this stage of going, what if it was one of my boys making decisions like that? You know, what would I do, and you know, how would I feel about it? And obviously, I'm very glad that they are not making decisions like George. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely got his faults, but I think there's some good in him. But I think there's some good in everyone.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
Baz, if we can we go back to Ed's earlier days? Because there are some people who listen to the Archers who've been listening from the very beginning, and some who've been listening for literally only a few weeks. Ed has, in some ways, had similar times to George, not completely, but Ed's been in trouble, growing cannabis and in trouble with Jazza and, you know, drugs issues and all sorts of really difficult moments for him to deal with. Do you see some similarities in his story?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yes, you know, they both had kind of tumultuous teens, and you know, lots of people do. Lots of people make all sorts of mad decisions when they're in their teenage years. I mean, me included. And yeah, Ed definitely had a tumultuous time. I think kind of ending up with his brother's wife was probably right up there on the list of things that you probably shouldn't do. No, I remember I went out for a pint years ago with a friend, and I was going through what was happening in the Archers, and I said, yeah, I got caught growing cannabis recently, and then there was the joyriding, and then now I'm shacked up with my brother's wife, and then I realised the whole pub had gone quiet. Everyone was just like, who is this guy? So yeah, there are similarities, but you know, I think what Ed's story arc has shown is that, you know, you come out of those years and you are a different person. You're a very different person to the person you were in your teenage years. And if you have people that believe in you and support you, then, you know, you can end up on the right side of the tracks.
Yeah. Would you say Oliver, in a way, is one of the key people that brought Ed back from the edge? I mean, it really was that bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was completely pivotal in turning Ed around. Believing in him, showing that someone believed in him and saw something in him that maybe the rest of the world didn't.
Yeah, I'll come back to Oliver later because I do like that relationship between the two of you. But just staying with the George and Emma and all that. I mean, that brutal scene a few months ago when George slated the ménage à trois between Ed, Emma, and Will, and put it down to explain how he's turned out. I mean, it had more than a ring of truth to it, didn't it?
Yeah. Do you know? I was thinking that as I was answering the previous question about what I think of George, because that can't have been easy. I mean, that is a very, very tricky dynamic for any of the people involved. But particularly for the child at the heart of that, to be hearing whispers, to be hearing people going, "Oh, that's that guy," and it would be really problematic. You'd have a lot of very complex emotions rolling around inside you, and like as a teenager, you don't know how to deal with complex things like that. There's no way of you kind of getting through that, and it kind of it would manifest itself in anger. Anger's an easy emotion to try and cope with something like that. So yeah, that was tricky, and I was definitely thinking that when I was answering the question about what I think of George.
But that was that was a hell of a scene. I mean, it's one of those really memorable scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, how wrung out were you all by that scene at the end of it?
Yeah, there are scenes that you do when you come out the studio and you are knackered. If you're just leaning on a fence post looking at the textiles, that's one thing. But yeah, if you're having a serious family hoo-ha like that, it is tiring. It's beautifully written and really emotive. But yeah, no, a great scene, and I think that really kind of laid bare what's underneath it for George. It was all kind of coming out.
Is it great to perform with Emerald and I've forgotten the name of the chap who plays George, but is it great to be together?
Brilliant. Well, I mean, I say this all the time, and I'm not just saying it. The whole Archers cast is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you get that in the performing arts, where you have a company or a band or a group that are just wonderful.
Yeah.
Like everyone's wonderful, and they really are. It's like an extended family. But yeah, to be working with the Grundys just as a unit are just fantastic. Like I've got so much love for all of them. They're just wonderful people and wonderful actors.
You get such a range of storylines with the Grundys as well, because there's so much humour there, but also there's some dark characters there as well. So there's always a lot going on. I love it every time they're on. I'm like, oh, what we up to here?
It's the whole kind of comedy tragedy thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, those two things. It's you can speak a lot of truth through comedy, and some brilliant characters in the mix there.
My next official question was that recently my mum has just started listening to The Archers.
Oh,
and she was,
good.
I know, and I was trying, and I was explaining to her. So obviously it's all been happening with George, and she said, "Oh, and George's mum and dad were doing that." I was like, "Oh, actually, that's not George's dad. That's his stepdad." But then I guess it's also his uncle, and then as I was,
Uncle Dad,
Uncle Daddy.
Dunkle.
And as I was explaining it to her, I was saying it so normally, like, so, and then I realised that this was a very unusual setup, and I was wondering how long it took for you to get used to that setup and be like, yeah, I guess that's just how it is now.
Well, Laura, that's why pubs fall silent when Baz is in them.
True.
yeah. Well, I guess it's one of these. We've had a while to get used to it, so it's not. When you're explaining it to your mum, it's like a massive jump. Whereas we've had lots of, not little jumps.
Yeah.
Sleeping with your brother's wife's quite a big jump. Then marrying her and having and not knowing if the baby's yours, that's a big jump. But it didn't all happen at once. It's been staged over multiple years. So, I guess it's amazing what you get used to.
Yeah, it is.
We're certainly used to it now, though. That's.
Baz, I do worry about Ed. I really do. I worry that he's got this incredible love for Emma, and he'll do anything to protect his family, and he'll deal with Will and all that goes on. But it puts him at risk of being hurt all the time. And I wondered what your view is on what is the core of Ed and what makes him who he is. Is it the love that he feels?
Yeah, I mean, I think family sits at the heart of that. And I think also, rightly or wrongly, I think he thinks of himself as a provider. He thinks himself as the kind of as a hub in the family. Like he sees looking after Emma, looking after his family as being really core to his being. This is why he was so challenged when he was kind of when Emma was starting to kind of challenge those conventions and starting to think about being a bit more independent. It was really kind of problematic for him because a big part of his personality is still thinking of himself as like the father, the provider. But yeah, I think his love for his family is actually his strength. I think that's at the heart of him.
Talking of family, in other interviews, you've said that Emerald and Hanrahan, who plays Emma, and I quote you, is very naughty and mischievous in the studio.
Yes, she is.
So I imagine, Baz, you had quite a few giggles in your frolicking in the wood scene a few months back.
Oh, on the badger cam.
Yeah.
Bum out.
We were both really nervous, like going into that, like because when you're reading your script and you're on your own and you're just like, oh, how is this going to pan out? But they also it was a funny scene. But then there also needs to be a lot of trust there, and so that you can feel comfortable enough to bring the comedy out of it. Because otherwise, it's just a really awkward situation. But actually, both of us came out of it, and I can't remember who it was who said it too. But just how lucky we were to be working with each other. The fact that we could have a scene like that, and for it to be so much fun, and for the fun to come out in the way that we played it. But obviously that takes a lot of trust. But obviously I'm a complete angel in the studio, so she's a very bad influence on me. But no, we definitely have a lot of laughs.
I've just had a terrible thought, Baz, that Philippa will cut out of the podcast. So,
Smart. I can't bear the smart Baz.
They'll be
Quentin
smart.
loves it.
Well, I'm just thinking like it wasn't Beaver Cam, wasn't it?
Oh!
I'm so sorry, Baz.
Can I
Keep
also
that
say, before we did this interview today, I watched back the Emerald interview that we did a year ago, and Quentin, you bring up exactly the same point. So it's obviously one of your favourite moments of the past year.
The symmetry,
You love it so much.
I want to get both sides of the story.
So, Baz, you mentioned earlier that you do your research. I mean, you looked into your textiles, but when Ed and Emma took on the tree surgery business, did you do much research into that? And what does that sort of look like? Are you up a ladder shouting "clear the drop zone" or?
It is funny when we're doing it in studio. Like sometimes you just kind of walk in on yourself and you're like, "What am I doing? This is wild." Because it's one of us is because you can hear it. You can hear when people are up, and you can hear when people are down. You can hear people left and right and forward and backwards. So the studio is amazing. We've got this wonderful studio with all this very kind of dynamic spaces. So you've got like one space which is like for your church hall and your town hall and stuff, village hall, sorry. Then you've got another room which is for like your kitchen space and your living room space, and all of the rooms are different. And then you've got a place called the dead room, which is like that's the place where you've got all of the acoustic tiling on the walls, which absorbs all of the sound, and that's the room we go to. It's one of the smaller rooms, but it sounds dead. Like you don't get any reverberation in the room. So that's the room we go to when we're doing any kind of outdoor stuff. So we're in this tiny room, acoustic tiles all on the walls, and one of us will be up a ladder. Normally you'll have our spot effects artist Ness, who'll be there with a massive branch or some sticks or like something that sounds like a chainsaw that's not a chainsaw. And you're up a ladder in a small weird room with odd acoustics. Someone's holding a branch and you're speaking these lines, and then you just kind of walk in on yourself and you're like, wow,
another day at work.
another day on the farm. It's the most pronounced that I ever had that experience, that kind of feeling of walking in on yourself, was when me and Phil Malloy were having a fight. Do you remember when Will and Ed were having a fight in the Am? We were having a scrap. Well, if you punch a cabbage, that sounds like being punched.
Wow!
It sounds like someone's face being punched. So you've got this really dramatic scene, and you've got these two guys, these brothers, like just at each other in the river, and then you've got a spot effects artist punching a cabbage. But it sounds ace.
So it's all happening at the same time. Like I didn't.
It's all. Oh. Well, some of it is. Some of it is. So like the splashing, they'd have probably played that in.
Yeah.
The sounds of shit. So we won't have Texels in the studio.
No.
But there'll be, yeah, I know. I'd love just one, just one that we could
really
keep
hench
in
in the corner.
Yes. But yes, a lot of it we're doing live. A lot of it's happening.
I did not realise that. I thought there was a lot of post-production stuff that they would then insert into it.
There's a bit, but yeah, sometimes you want the sounds to be as dynamic as the performance is. It's part of the performance. So doors, they're all happening live. Doorbells are often happening live.
Vance, was there a disclaimer at the end of that episode saying several cabbages had been hurt in the recording of
damp cabbages as well, if you were fighting in the air.
Baz, we'll come back to more questions about Ed in a minute, but this is December, the month of Christmas, the month of giving, so I do want to focus on the charity that you run, Open Up Music, and we're going to have lots of links in the show notes to this episode so people can click on that and donate. But can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So Open Up Music, it's a charity that I co-founded. It's coming on to 10 years ago now. And it's a charity that opens up music to young disabled musicians. So that's our mission. That's what we kind of set out to do. And we do that in a number of different ways. We've spent a decade making a new musical instrument called the clarion. And it's an instrument you can play with any part of your body, including your eyes. So there's a number of young musicians that play the clarion with their eyes. Or with their head movement, or with the movement of a hand. It's actually the first electronic musical instrument to be assessed by the ABRSM. So if anyone's done like kind of grade 5 piano, chances are it would have been the ABRSM that did that. So it's opening up music to a lot of young people. And we also run a school program called Open Orchestras, which set up the UK's first special school orchestras, and there are now 60 of those all over the country. So that's grown loads over the last 10 years. And the final thing that we're working on at the moment is something called the National Open Youth Orchestra, which is the world's first disabled-led national youth ensemble. And so, we're working with a very broad range of young people, supporting them in whatever way they need to be supported to enable them to progress in the way that's most suited to them. And it's making some amazing music and having lots of laughs on the way.
Sounds amazing.
If people were to donate, Baz, what else could you do with the money? Is there anything that you would wish for Christmas for the charity?
Well, we're trying to expand our programs. We want to get a open orchestra in every special school in the country. That's what we're looking to do. And for the National Open Youth Orchestra, again, we want that to grow. I mean, they're amazing young musicians that really deserve the stage that they're on, and we want to take it into new regions, because there's a lot of young people out there that just don't get the opportunity to participate and progress in music. So we there's a lot of work to do. There's an awful lot of work to do, but I mean, if anyone wants to support the charity, do check out the website. www.openupmusic.org.uk, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. As I say, there'll be links in the show notes and in the Facebook group, so we'll try and make that as easy as possible. Is funding getting harder these days? Yeah,
it is. There's since I've been doing this, the fundraising landscape's changed a lot. There's a lot more demand for the funding that's out there. It's a lot more competitive than it used to be. Every single pound that we're able to raise can help. So if anyone is feeling like they would like to contribute to the charity, it would be really much appreciated.
Thank you. Well, we will be, and hope lots of listeners do too.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah, you need to get Eddie to come up with one of his clever business schemes.
That's it, yeah, absolutely.
No, that's the last thing you need.
Ferrets.
Talking of Ambridge again, which Ambridge character, Baz, do you think that Ed would love to see the back of?
That's a good question.
Will?
Yeah, do you know what? That's the right answer. I think deep. Well, they've come a long way, haven't they? I still don't think he likes him. I think he really does wind him up. But no, I think which character? I think Linda Snell would rub Ed up the wrong way.
Yeah.
She's also my favourite character.
Oh, wow.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. Someone like Clive Horrobin, probably. I don't know. Yeah, there's a few. There's a few characters. Yeah.
Right.
If we stick with Ambridge, I was wondering if you, Baz, were visiting Ambridge for the day, where would you definitely have to visit?
The Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bull.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably stay there.
Yeah.
I'd just like go in there, have a pint of Shires.
Well,
It always sounds like
you could be Santa if you like.
Oh. I feel like it could be a day visit as well, because whenever they're talking about the food and stuff they're having in there, I'm like, yeah, this all sounds lovely. I could stay there for the whole day.
Yeah, it sounds great. And then all these wonderful characters coming in all day, propping up the bar.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Talking about food, which is very important to most of us on this podcast, we do analyse all the food that is mentioned in great detail. Can I ask the inevitable biscuit question? What do you think is Ed's favourite biscuit?
Ed's favourite biscuit.
It's got to be something he can carry up a tree.
Chocolate hobnob.
Nice.
Perfect.
Chocolate hobnob.
Can't be the
Perfect.
hobnob.
What's your favourite biscuit, Baz?
Chocolate hobnob. I think
The lines are blurring.
No, I mean, I thought you might. I thought there might be a question in here about food, and I thought it might be like, what's Ed's favourite meal? Sausage, egg, chips, and beans.
Yeah.
What's my favourite meal?
Sausage, egg, chips and beans.
Sausage, egg, chips, and beans.
Yeah.
Like, I think we've got a similar palate. Let's put it that way.
You've grown together.
Is Ed, if as Baz, would you get along with Ed? Do you like him?
I do like Ed. Yeah, I do like Ed. I think he's a good guy. He's salt of the earth. Kind of what you see is what you get. There's he's hard working, loyal, loves his family. Yeah, I think there's a lot to love about Ed. And yeah, I'd definitely like to share a pint of Shires with him for sure.
And a plate of sausage, chips and beans.
Yeah, look at that. It would just be away, wouldn't it?
Followed by chocolate hobnobs.
Chocolate hobnob for pudding. Brilliant.
With the
Jazzer singing. There you go.
Oh, he's got a lovely voice.
Yeah, doesn't he? Yeah.
He really has got a wonderful set of pipes. Yeah.
with the new year sort of in grasping reach, what would you wish for Ed and the family for 2025?
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay. Yeah. I would wish him safety in those trees with that chainsaw.
Yes.
I mean, when I got the script, I was like, he's becoming a tree surgeon. I was like, oh no, that's quite high up. There's a lot of hazards up there.
Yeah.
No, I'd like him to get a break.
I often say that about the Grundys. Like they just need a break.
Catch a break.
They never do.
I'd like him to catch a break just for a bit.
Do you think they'll ever own a house, Ed and Emma?
Well, I mean, I think it's important that story is being told actually, because there's a lot of families out there that are really struggling. Getting on the housing ladder is an absolute nightmare. Setting up a business, maintaining a business, it's really tough. And there's a lot of people in the same situation as Ed and Emma all over the country. So I think it's important that there's a family in the Archers that's speaking to that.
Absolutely.
But I'd like them to catch a break. I'd like them to win the not the lottery, but a chunk of cash.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'd do if they won the lottery. It would be hilarious. Like imagine if Eddie Grundy won the won the lottery. What the house would look like.
Yeah.
But
Dallas.
I'd like him to catch a break. Have a good year.
Yeah, don't we all? In terms of which parent he's closer to, I mean, he doesn't strike me as a mummy's boy or a daddy's boy, but would you say he's closer to Clary or Eddie?
I've never thought about that before. It's a good question. I don't know if he is closer to either of them. I think it's there's a different type of love there for both of them. Because he's got a good relationship with both of them, and he'd confide in them in different ways for different things, I think. So I don't think he's got a favourite parent. Have they got a favourite son is the question.
They must have, and it must
be Ed. Well, that's what I would say. Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I worry it's Will, and incorrectly so, because they forgive Will so much, and yet Ed just seems weighed down by carrying all the load. So poor Ed.
we mentioned him before, Oliver, and I particularly enjoy that lovely nurturing relationship that's developed between you and Oliver, played by Michael. Is that an aspect of Ed's development as a character that you've particularly enjoyed?
Well, for creating that relationship with
the scenes
Oliver.
with Michael,
I love Michael so much. He's just the most fun. He's the most. Have you done one with him? Have you?
I'd love to.
No.
Yeah,
he's so much fun.
Put in a good word for us, please, Baz. Put in a good word.
I will.
Thank you.
I will. But just such a wonderful actor, so funny, and such a warm character, such a warm, caring character. But it's that was, I think that was really it was an important part of Ed's development as a character, like bringing him back from the brink, because he really was, was on the edge. He was just falling. He was just falling, and Oliver was there to catch him. Mirroring that, I was a relatively young actor, and Michael was kind of teaching me a lot about the craft, and that's another thing I'd say about the whole Archers cast, really, is that they really take you under their wing, and you learn so much being in the studio. And even with new characters that are coming in, it's if you're open to it, there's so much knowledge and so much talent there. But I think that relationship was really formative for Ed. Yeah, it really brought him back. Yeah. Really brought him back from the edge and set him on the right track.
Yeah, it's been very nicely done as well.
And he's been there for the whole Grundy family, actually, hasn't he?
Yeah.
The return to Grange Farm, all of it.
He sort of lives in his own home by permission of the Grundys.
I know. They lucked out with that, didn't they? They really did.
Okay, we've got several questions for you from the Facebook group, Baz. Lots of different ones. In fact, there's so many. Do feel free to answer them
rapidly,
fairly quickly, if you so wish.
Okay. The first one comes from Lizzie. She says, "How long till you try and cook up a plan to break George out of prison? And will the plan involve Bartleby?" Trojan horse, I think.
Oh well, that's some thinking outside the box. How would you cook up? How would you get George out of prison with Bartleby?
I think it's a farm visit, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Grundys are probably exploring all sorts of options to get George out of jail. I think Bartleby would be quite low on the. I mean, yeah, he's getting on a bit. I mean, I don't know how old Bartleby is. I don't think anyone knows how old Bartleby is.
Well, he was the oldest pony in England, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
but
then they did.
He's enjoying his retirement. They don't need to get him involved
leave him
in
alone.
George's escape.
I think you could probably get the prison guards to pet him while you're sneaking in.
Listen,
Yeah.
we've heard about the prisoner escaping tied under a van, so maybe George could be tied under Bartleby.
Oh, yeah, you'd want to get your head the right way round, wouldn't you? Don't.
Absolutely. I've got a question from Ruth, and Ruth says, do you feel comfortable with Ed's tree surgery activities, or do you fear for the renewal of your contract with the Archers when he gets ready to climb a tree? And she also wants to know if you can use a chainsaw yourself.
I've never used a chainsaw, but I'm pretty confident that I would know how to do it. That's maybe overly confident there, which I tend to be. Do I worry? Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, we don't know what's coming down the tracks. It's like life. Ambridge is like life. You don't know what's coming down the tracks. So yeah, I'm just going to set out to be the most competent, most the best tree surgeon that I could possibly be, and just hopefully that'll come through in my voice that it would be completely out of the question that anything would possibly go wrong.
Keep clearing that drop zone.
Yeah, keep clearing that drop zone.
Yeah.
The next question is from Ben in Shanghai.
International.
Who says, you truly are a Bristol creative and a man of many talents. How do you manage to wear so many hats and focus your attention in so many different directions? Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. I've kind of always been like that. Like, I mean, at my core, I'm somebody that's creative, and I've had such a lucky life where I've been able to engage with the arts, plural. So, I grew up as an actor, and I think that's so important on so many levels. There's so many transferable skills in learning to be an actor. I came to music quite late, so I was like my late teens when I started getting a real interest in music, and really just engaged with that. Started studying that then led to Open Up Music, the charity, and fairly recently over the last few years I've taken up sculpting. So it's just one of these things that I just see the arts as this wonderful playground that you can just play around in and just experiment in and explore, and it's so interconnected. And any skill you learn in any one of these disciplines can be applied to something else. So I just like to stay busy, and I like to I do get bored quite easily, so I just like to pack my life with as much stuff as possible.
Perhaps you could have joy as a life model.
Yeah.
I say these things, Baz, just to make Philippa shake her head in despair.
Every time.
Every time. Now, look, Baz, I've got this bit of a weird question. It's a chainsaw thing, apparently, according to Tim.
Right. And
I'm not going to pronounce either of these names correctly. Husqvarna or Still? The two makes a chainsaw. Should it be a Husqvarna or a Still chainsaw?
Oh, which would I go for?
Yeah, apparently. It's a chainsaw thing, man.
Probably a still chainsaw, i.e. one that's not moving. And
very still.
Very good.
They're very, very still, very safe, very passive chainsaw. That's what I'd go for. So yeah, the second, a still.
A still. Okay.
Andy has asked, and he says he's afraid it's not a question. Not a character question, sorry, but a Barry question. He says that you're a fascinating guy and you've spearheaded some brilliant work concerning access to music making. Also, you invented a knot, so we want to hear more about that. And I'd be fascinated to hear about the journey towards these two accomplishments in particular. And he also notes your MBE and says it's very well deserved.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's him. So, what was the question? What was the backstory for those things?
Yeah.
How did I invent a knot?
How did you invent a knot?
How did I invent a knot? So I don't know if you remember a few years back there was like a Christmas book that was doing the rounds called The Dangerous Book for Boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law bought me The Dangerous Book for Boys, and I've got two boys. And I just became kind of obsessed with this book, and like trying to be the best dad I could possibly be, and obviously I had to learn how to tie the knots in the book. You know, it's just part of it. And as I said earlier, I love wild camping. I love bushcraft. I love going out into the world and out into the wild and taking my boys with me. So I learned all of the knots in the Dangerous Book for Boys, and then I started kind of playing around with other knots and learning those. And there was a particular knot that I needed for my wild camping. And when you're wild camping, quite often you'll have a tarpaulin, like as in a kind of A shape, that hangs over a ridge line, and you want both ends to be quick release. So, you know, you tie it up and then in the morning you just pop it open really quickly and be on your way. But you want one end to be fixed and you want the other end to be adjustable, so you can tighten the ridge line. And there are a couple of knots out there, like the Crawley hitch.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, but you know, I was never completely happy with the Crawley hitch.
No.
Who is?
And so who is exactly dreadful knot. So I started kind of messing around, and I kind of I kind of thought it out in my mind, and I was like, this will work if I just loop that around there and I feed this through here. That'll work. I tried it, and it did work. And I thought, bloody hell, I've just invented a knot. but you know, who knew? So I didn't know for sure. So I sent this knot to the International Guild of Knot Tiers.
Where else would you send it?
Which is an actual thing. There's an actual thing called the International Guild of Knot Tiers. I sent it to them, and they got back in touch and said, well, we've not seen this knot before, so yeah, we think that you've invented a new knot.
Amazing.
So I put it up onto Wikipedia. So I added the Wikipedia entry, and then since then it's just kind of propagated. And now it's in scout manuals, and there's loads of online tutorial videos, and it's called the Farrimond friction hitch.
Oh, brilliant!
That's a great name.
So yeah, it's just gone a bit wild, really. And like suddenly this knot's kind of, well, I wouldn't say it's everywhere, but you know, if it's available, and lots of people are interested in it, and it's really helpful. And there's loads of other kind of bushcrafters out there who use it on a day-to-day basis. So So
what an accomplishment! Amazing. Oh, great.
I expect to hear Ed and Emma using it as part of their tree cutting business.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't trust it with. I don't want to suggest that to the script writers, because it's quick release. That's the problem. I wonder what this does.
Yes, we don't want that.
Yeah,
we don't want that.
But when Henry and Jack go camping, they could use it, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could. I mean, that is what it's for. It's camping knot. So, yeah.
The next question is from Barry, who asks, he says, Ed has had a challenging past and frequently runs into bad luck. Despite this, he's matured into a decent person. Do you think Ed will ever find his fortune? I know we've mentioned that before, so sorry to go on about it again, but anything else to say about that?
No.
It's been explored.
I don't think he will. Yeah. As I said, I think that Grundys occupy a really important space, which is to represent people that are struggling. And I think it'll ebb and flow. There'll be the odd thing that will come in, and they'll do a little bit better. But I'm sorry to say, I think they're probably always going to struggle a bit.
I feel the same.
Well,
Barry's also concerned about your parents' marriage, the Eddie and Clary dynamic, and he worries about their future. Is that something that you're worried about?
No, I think that they are. They're fused for life. I can't see them. I can't see. No, they're good. They're good.
Don't
I
worry,
think they're good.
Okay. Now, Baz, we got several questions about, surprise, surprise, Ed's relationship with Will. The first one comes in from Tamsin. Could be Tamsin Gregg. We'll never know. And Tamsin says, have you and Will really put the past behind you?
I think we have, but I think it's always going to be bubbling under the surface. So I think we've done it out of a very kind of pragmatic. This can't carry on. We have to be okay. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to function as a kind of family. But it's always there. It's always there, kind of niggling away under the surface. So it adds that tension. But yeah, I think for now we have. But the past is never too far behind us.
Well, as long as it keeps the scripts coming in, Baz, who cares? Eh?
Yeah, that's it.
Nikki has asked, why do you think that Ed didn't ask Emma to marry him and he waited for her to ask him?
That's a very good question. Oh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Possibly money.
Yeah.
You know, it's not cheap, is it? Getting hitched, not cheap.
And I'd suggest it's Ed's confidence as well. I don't think he has that confidence in himself to do it.
Yeah, and you know, I think maybe he thought things are going good. We're all right.
True.
You know,
I asked my husband
okay.
to marry me, and he said yes. But when I asked him, I said, "Oh, do you think you ever would have asked me?" He was like, "Nah, I just thought everything was all right as it was." So that is a popular view. Maybe Ed was of that school of thought. It's all fine.
Yeah, I mean, there could be all sorts of reasons, couldn't there? Could have been his confidence. Could be because he didn't want to rock the boat. You know, things are kind of okay at the moment. Like the family's all right, and you know, maybe it'd be just one more thing to annoy Will. But actually, I think that would have been a reason to ask her actually for it. So I don't know. It could have been any number of reasons, but the one that rings true for me is that he probably just didn't think about it.
Thank you. Next question from Jan. Hi Barry, I love your character on The Archers and how you play him. Do you miss being at loggerheads with Will, or do you prefer happy camaraderie, and why?
Well, I loved it when we were at loggerheads. It was great. I got to, you know, the cabbages were getting punched left, right, and centre. It was, you know, it's always good to get something gritty like that to get stuck into as an actor. You know, it's good to feel challenged as an actor like that. So the storyline was brilliant, and it was just, you know, such a nice arc to it, and so I think change is good. I think it is good for relationships to ebb and flow, you know, in the way they do in life. So even though we're going through a nice still period at the moment, like I said earlier, it's always simmering away underneath the surface. So could always come back. There could be something that throws it all up in the air.
Well, this ties in with Georgina's question, and she says, I would like to know how Ed really feels about his brother. Will is hugely annoying and quite condescending, but it feels somewhat that Ed is in his ownership money-wise.
I think he's quite annoying and hugely condescending. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Probably sums it up.
But the money issue is a problem, isn't it?
Probably a little bit intimidated by him, a little bit. You know,
but do you think
he is doing well? Do
you think the money issue is going to be a problem? What he's invested in to your business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be, hasn't it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know where that storyline's going, but you know, it is a
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have gone into that with.
No.
I wouldn't have gone into that with Will. No, no way. No way. Yeah, I think he feels a little bit kind of intimidated by him because he's one of the, you know, he has a Grundy, he's doing pretty well for himself, isn't he? Will, he's doing all right, you know, being in that position. I don't think he likes feeling indebted to him in that way. No. And yeah, who knows where that's going to lead.
When they were agreeing on taking that money from Will, I was thinking one of them's going to realise soon that this is not the good thing they should be doing. This is a terrible idea. Yeah. And then they all sort of like, yeah, this sounds good, marching into it. And I thought, that's going to, at some point, they're going to realise. We've got the last question. Sorry, Bad.
I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of families out there that probably rings true with. This is a great idea.
We spend more time with each other.
Yeah, you lend me that money, it'll be brilliant. Nothing could go wrong.
I think you're right. Yeah. So we've got the last question now, and that's from Angie. And we have touched upon this. So, but Angie is thinking back to the wonder that was Dross. Please, can you ask Barry if he plays a musical instrument? Not only does he play one, he's invented one. And does he have the same musical taste as his alter ego?
Yes, I do play a few musical instruments. Not massively well, but my first instrument was the didgeridoo. So that I do play the didgeridoo quite well.
Wow.
A little bit less so now because I've got a beard and it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult to play when you've got a beard, but I still can. Yeah, I can tickle the ivories a little bit. I'm pretty bad on the guitar. I'm okay at percussion and drums. But yeah, my main instrument is music technology. So that's kind of what led to the creation of the clarion. Actually, that's what the instrument's called, the clarion. So that's what I studied at university was music technology, creative music technology. So that's my main instrument would be like a computer.
Wow.
And in terms of my music tastes, really broad. I'm into all sorts of different types of music.
Well, thank you very much for those answers to the Facebook questions, Baz. We just finally, we have touched on a lot of key scenes for Ed, but is there anything that we haven't mentioned that for you is a key part of who he is and his history?
I mean, I'd like to mention his granddad. Joe. And that's as much for Ed as for me, actually. Ted Kelsey was an extraordinary actor and a wonderful character, and I think Joe meant as much to Ed as Ted meant to me. So yeah, I'd just like to give Ted a nice little name drop at the end there. He's a remarkable actor.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for that. Well, we come to the very final question where we do sort of a version of Pass the Parcel, where we ask the previous cast member a question for you. Unfortunately, when we interviewed David, who plays Tony Archer, I was having a complete mind melt and forgot to ask him a question. So that's on me. So I've tried to channel Tony Archer to ask you this question. Prepare yourself. So the question that I imagine Tony Archer would ask you is, would you prefer to have been born an Archer instead of a Grundy?
No. No way. Grundy's forever. Yeah, I'm so glad that I'm a Grundy.
I think Tony wanted to play trains with you and have someone to share that interest.
Oh no, I feel bad. No, well, he could have been born a Grundy.
Yes.
And we could have had a great time.
Yes.
Messing around in the tool shed. It'd been.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's just been an absolute joy and delight to talk to you today. Barry Farrimond, who plays Ed Grundy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks ever so much.